pick either, and the draft isn't loaded either, so it's rough.
J-Mac, is this a crisis?
I mean, it just depends upon who you ask. It's like in the dating game. If you ask your married friends, no, they're happy and they're doing well. If you ask your single friends, they're looking at the pool like a Brian Dable. He's on every dating app swiping all type of ways, and he still hasn't been able to find an answer at the quarterback position. So crisis is defined by who you ask.
What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call it a quarterback crisis when we look around the league and we got Mahomes and Allen and Lamar Jackson. I get the teams who don't have one, and I guess this is to J-Mac's point. It's sure is a crisis for those teams, but it's not a crisis for us who are watching the game.
All right, overreactions on this Monday. The next one takes us to San Francisco. Graziano, if I were to say the Niners' Super Bowl window is closed, is that an overreaction?
I think so. I mean, they've lost a lot of guys, especially on defense, but there's still a lot of really good players on this team. I'm thinking about Christian McCaffrey and Nick Bosa and Trent Williams and Fred Warner and George Kittle and Brock Purdy. These guys are all still there. They have to figure something out on defense. They bring back Robert Saleh as coordinator. They feel like they can hit a couple draft picks. He can help develop those guys. I would not underestimate this 49er team just because of all the guys they lost.
Nick?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that they still have a ton of talent and quite possibly one of the best coaches in football. And a GM and John Lynch that's shown the ability to find talent is certainly not over for that team by a long stretch. As long as they have a quarterback and that coach. And you left off Trent Williams. Like, there's a lot of really good players on that team.
Trent.
Yes, so, I mean, we're talking about Super Bowl caliber contender.
I was busy trying to make faces on the big screen.
You just don't pay attention when I talk. It's okay. I understand.
A Super Bowl caliber.
I don't see it right now. To you guys' point, I do think they're still a good football team. I think it says more about the rest of the conference and the NFC and how they have grown and where these teams are. I like a lot of those other teams, including the Rams and the Lions and the Eagles and those teams, Commanders included, over top of them.
That's where I would go. I don't think the Niners are terrible.
Yeah.
But I think as far as they have been the class of the conference for what feels like the last, little period of time here. I don't think that is even close to the case anymore.
Eagles have been the last 3 Super Bowls.
True. Yeah. I'm just saying, like the 49ers have felt like the team to beat going into every year.
That's true.
I don't think they feel that way anymore. Finally, if I were to say, is this an overreaction? The Vikings will take back the NFC North. Is that an overreaction?
I think it's an overreaction because as good as the Vikings are and as good as their free agency period has been in terms of adding key pieces, they still have a major question mark at the quarterback position. Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy, who's never played an NFL game? Are they really going to go out and sign Aaron Rodgers? And what does that mean? And by the way, the Lions are still good. The Packers are still good. The Bears look like they'll be better. It's a tough division. I think it's a mistake to assume, especially given they have the biggest quarterback question in the division.
Yeah, I look at it as it's almost a division totally up for grabs right now. You mentioned the quarterback questions for them. For the Lions, you've lost your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator. We love the moves that the Bears have made. Is it enough? And then Jordan Love obviously gives the Green Bay Packers a chance as well.
Here's what I would say, Nee. When it comes to the Vikings quarterback situation, there are very few people I trust on that decision more than Kevin O'Connell.
Sure.
So they voluntarily let Sam Darnold go. If they wanted to keep him there, they could have. The fact that he and they were this willing to go to J.J. McCarthy tells me it's going to wind up being the right thing to do.
Yeah, it seems like a crazy thing to say, but I think Kevin O'Connell's track record suggests that he's going to get the best out of whatever quarterback is there. So if you're a Vikings fan, you should have some confidence going into this season. But I still agree with the other guys. That division feels wide open. No matter what happens with that quarterback situation, there are going to be some growing pains or some transition pains, and I suspect that they'll be in the hunt. But I still got to defer to the Lions, so the way that they've been playing up until this point, and that O-line is back and healthy.
All right, we'll wait and see. Still a lot of football moves that will be made before it's all said and done. We sort of acted last week like free agency was done, and then boom, the Bengals last night. So there's a lot out there. In the meantime, while you were sleeping, major breaking news. The Bengals duo of wide receivers received it with new 4-year contract extensions. Jamar Chase, $161 million, 112 of that guaranteed. T. Higgins, $115 million. The first 2 years guaranteed. Jamar Chase's average of $40.25 million makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. So Myles Garrett held that distinction for about 2 weeks. Chase and Higgins will now have a combined per-year salary of $69 million. That's $10 million higher than any other wide receiver duo. Should be worth it because this is the production that you're getting. Chase per season, over 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns. Higgins, we know he's had some injuries, but averaging nearly 1,000 yards per season himself. He's probably a number one on just about any other team. So, Graziano, we start with you. I would be lying if I said I was not surprised.
Right.
If you had told me this was going to happen, I would not have believed it.
I feel like I did tell you this was going to happen.
And I didn't believe you.
The Bengals told us they were going to do this. We should have believed them. Like Duke Tobin, their director of pro personnel, was at the combine a couple weeks ago saying our cap situation is fine. We believe we will get these deals done. Jamar Chase is going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal. Said the same thing about Trey Hendrickson. And frankly, Greeny, they're talking to him about another contract right now, too. I wouldn't be surprised if that got done. This was in the works late last week. After they got through the first couple days of free agency, got that business taken care of, they turned their attention back to this. Couple things happened here. One, over the offseason, T. Higgins changed agents. And not that his agent was the problem, but he switched to Jamar Chase's agent. So you have one agent working both deals, which obviously I think helps get things done. They know where things stand. And they both wanted to be there. The Bengals have built something, and with Joe Burrow there as the quarterback, these guys know they're going to get fed. They know they're going to get treated well. They know that they're going to be a big part of things, and obviously they're being paid that way. They still have to rebuild their defense, and they know that, but these are the key pieces for an offense that was one of the elite offenses in the league last year, and they want to keep it going as long as they can.
This was news generally we all woke up to this morning. J-Mac, when you woke up to this news, what was your first reaction?
My first reaction was secondaries all across the league got no sleep and are terrified, and that's including the Cincinnati Bengals secondary because they realized there's no help on the way. All the money just went to T. Higgins and to Jamar Chase, including the quarterback, Joe Burrow. Listen, the Cincinnati Bengals, they paid their star players. You have to love and respect that. At the same time, you're going to have question marks for them on the defensive side of the ball is how do you get enough help? They scored a ton of points last year, and it wasn't enough for them to make the playoffs. So now that you got these guys, how do you figure out a way to get this defense playing well? They've drafted a ton of guys over the last few years. Since they drafted Joe Burrow, 9 of the 13 top 100 picks that they've had in the draft have gone to the defensive side of the ball, and it hasn't worked out. So they have to continue to try to grow and develop these guys and bring them along using the draft to try to keep up with the amount of points that Joe Burrow and company is going to score.
To make them what? That's the question, Dominique. We know they've got the quarterback. When you've got the quarterback, you've got a shot. He's going to keep his guys, but they had these guys. So what?
Cứ lần lượt từng mỗi một nhé. Rồi là móc tiếp những mũi tiếp theo. Đây móc xuống nữa này. Đây móc tiếp nữa nhé. Mọi người cứ làm luân phiên cho mình. Còn một chút nữa là sẽ nối lại được rồi. Tiếp tục móc xuống. Rồi mũi nữa này. Từng mũi một cho đến hết.